The mechanic working on this car found two problems fighting for his attention at the same time. A frame that had turned itself into Swiss cheese and a fuel leak generous enough to water a small garden. The owner of this car rolled in saying that a friend of his had done some work on the steering for him last week, but now complained about a dunking sound. Customer states, hit a trash bag on the highway. Must have been one hell of a trash bag to take out the whole control arm. And this guy rolled in saying that his car handles weird over specifically 52 miles per hour. Customer rolled in complaining about starting issues and random electrical problems after he had replaced the battery by himself, and this is how sloppily the battery was installed. And this owner's car rolled in with a no-start concern, and when the mechanics went to do an oil change on it, they discovered something pretty interesting. This customer rolled in saying that he had lost his camper on the highway while he was on vacation with his family, and this is what was left of the trailer hitch. The owner of this car rolled in saying that he started getting a strange sound after his wife had hit a curb about a month ago, and he went on saying that he had tried fixing the damage by himself, but it wasn't really successful. Customer came in saying that his Jeep has started to sag since he hit a piece of wood on the highway recently. And this is what happens when you lend your car to your 19-year-old grandson and say, have fun! That might be a problem. Customer states, my steering wheel feels wobbly. And the owner of this truck came in saying the reverse lights had stopped working after his father-in-law had installed a new light bar and done the wiring, all by himself. This customer had a broken drive shaft on his car, so he got a bit creative with it, but rolled into the shop on a tow truck because he wasn't creative enough. Customer states, what do you mean there's rust underneath? I've kept my car in a heated garage since new. And this Dodge Magnum rolled in because of a fuel leak. The mechanic discovered that the fuel tank had a hole in it right next to the exhaust. Customer states, steering wheel feels jerky. And this customer brought their car in with some extra caramel drizzle. Customer states, just need a quick tread depth check on all 4 tires. This car rolled in because it needed its low and high beams replaced, but the mechanic also noticed that it had quite the oil leak that the customer didn't mention anything about. And yep, these people that don't believe in tire wear and tear are out there driving among us. And this car came in because the owner complained about an oil leak. Customer reluctantly came in for some wheel work after having said, I typically do my own work, but I trust you guys. The owner of this car had been putting off a brake inspection for quite a while, and when the mechanic finally pulled the rotor off, the rust had done enough work on its own that the center and the outer ring had decided to go their separate ways. And this customer came in with quite the oil leak after their uncle had done an oil change for them 2 weeks prior, but had forgot to put an O-ring on the oil filter. This truck came in for some new oil, but the mechanic was surprised at how rusted the oil pan was for only having 18,000 miles on it. This car had a bit of a leak in its brand new master cylinder. Looks great! The owner of this car wanted to trade it in for a newer model and claimed that his current model did in fact have backup sensors and wanted a higher price because of it. But this is what the mechanic found. Customer states, "I think I have an oil leak. Can you check it out?" Thankfully for the customer, it was just some condensation from the AC unit. And this car had a bit of an oil leak. Customer states, "Car vibrates more than usual while driving." And this engine is from a Ford Focus that overheated after the thermostat housing broke. Customer states, "Car handles like a turd on wheels." And this customer came in saying, "Took the car out for some Indian food, but I think it was too spicy for it." And this customer came in complaining about a strange noise coming from their wheels after their buddy had helped them install some new brake pads. Apparently, they forgot the retaining pins that keeps the pad in place, and the pads had been scraping against the inside of the wheel, which caused the noise. Customer states, "Car started sounding like a tractor overnight." And this car came in because the owner could hear weird noises from the back of the car. Customer states, "Car makes a little rattling sound when I start it up cold, but once it warms up, it goes away. I think that's just how these engines are, right?" And the owner of this car had tried repairing a brake line by himself, but had just ended up causing an even bigger brake leak instead. And this customer had done some brake work on his car and came in to make sure everything looked alright. This Nissan Navara came in because of a noisy engine. The mechanic later discovered that the last oil change was 42,000 miles ago. The owner of this car had an oil leak fixed at another shop, but the car was apparently still leaking oil. Customer states, "Tried repairing my own wheel. Please help." The mechanic who pulled the wheels on this one found brake rotors that were so far past their service limit that he had to look twice to confirm they were still there. This customer's car had a slight coolant leak, and it almost took the mechanics the whole day to find it because it was coming from a coolant hose that was pretty hard to get to. The owner of this car had replaced the parking brake shoes by himself, but had apparently gotten the wrong size, which caused it to get stuck. And this almost brand new Jeep Wagoneer came in because the material on the steering wheel was already falling apart. This customer came in because they hear a knocking sound from their newly installed transmission. Unfortunately for this customer, it looks like they might need another transmission replacement. This customer complained about his truck burning too much oil. Apparently, he had done an oil change by himself, but forgot to drain out the old oil. The mechanic estimated the overfill to be about 2 gallons or 7.6 liters. This car came in with a check engine light and a rough idle, and when the mechanic pulled the O2 sensor and looked down into the catalytic converter, he found it completely packed with debris after it had fallen apart internally. And this tire rolled in all screwed up. This Honda CR-V came in on a tow truck after the owner had hit a bowling ball that had fallen out of a truck in front of them on the highway. And this car came in because of a blown tire. Apparently, the mechanic also found the rest of the tires to have about 100 psi in them. And this customer came in because they apparently lost all steering while driving after having installed a lowering kit all by themselves. Customer states, really poor steering. Please advise. Customer states, I've got a couple of loose wires that need tidying up. Should be a 20-minute job, tops. This customer rolled in with a coolant leak that was pretty sneaky to find. The mechanic sprayed some soapy water on the radiator and found it. And this customer had fixed an exhaust leak together with a friend, but had to come in again because it was still leaking. This customer complained about their new wipers not working. This is what happens when a car has been sitting outside for 6 months with no hood and valve cover, with only an old towel covering the intake. Luckily though for this car, after getting some new cams, lifters and rockers, it somehow ran okay again.
Approximately 10 hours later.
Customer states, I hear a weird noise when turning. Customer came in complaining about their transmission shifting a little rough, but that he's been told that's just how these ones are and asked for some new transmission fluid. The owner of this car loves to listen to music and was just in to get a new extra battery installed so that he can install another set of amps and speakers on the roof. And this customer wanted to drive their tires to the very last mile. This customer was driving their newly purchased Dodge Challenger home when they suddenly heard a bang from underneath the car. This customer had tried welding his cracked power steering rack back together by himself, but it wasn't super successful, so he had to come into the shop to get it fixed. This car had just gotten its alternator replaced, but the battery was still not being charged. Apparently, the car has a manual belt tensioner and the owner had never tightened it after replacement. Sometimes, all you need is a little bit of tension to make things right. The mechanic who dipped his finger into this oil pan found a dark, gooey substance with metallic glitter in it. The fun kind of glitter that an engine makes right before it stops working. And this beat-up car rolled in with a giant hole in the undercarriage after the owner said that he drove over a thin tractor tire filled with a mix of sand and concrete. This 2004 GMC Sierra rolled in after the customer said that it's a little hard to stop at higher speeds. This car was parked in a barn for 3 years and the owner wanted to see if it was savable. Customer states, my car rocks back and forth too much. Once on the lift, the mechanic made a shocking discovery. This customer came in with their F-150 saying he had steering issues. The mechanic found the electric rack and pinion to be filled with water. This customer had been on his way back from a fishing trip when both the fuel gauge and temperature gauge started going up and down on their own, like they were having a conversation with each other. Customer declined all repairs, saying he'll just drive it on feel for a while. Customer states, very hard to get the car in gear. Yeah, sure looks like it, bud. And the owner of this car came in and said that their steering wheel has started to wobble more than usual and wanted the mechanic to have a look. This 22 Jeep Wrangler came in because of a coolant leak. Apparently, one of the coolant hoses weren't connected to the electric cooling pump, which caused the issue. And this customer had just purchased this used Kia Niro but came in because it overheated after only a few days of use. Because the Niro is a hybrid, it's got a heat exchanger in the exhaust to help with fuel efficiency during cold starts. The mechanic discovered that the exhaust was pretty beat up and the coolant lines not even connected to the heat exchanger. The mechanic who got underneath this one found a clutch that had clearly lived a very full life and was ready to retire. The owner had apparently been towing a small trailer back from a camping trip and had floored it up every hill on the way home. This truck rolled in because the owner said that the cabin fan randomly shuts itself off and the low beams flickers a lot. The mechanics found the trailer hitch all beat up. This 2003 Toyota 4Runner came in because the owner said that it had started to handle like a boat the past few months. This customer came in with their Kia because their engine was in pretty bad shape. Apparently, the customer was denied an engine replacement at the Kia dealership under the Kia 10-year 100,000 mile warranty, despite the vehicle only having 48,000 miles on it and all the documentation of regular oil changes since new. This Honda CR-V came in because it was apparently not just lubricating the engine, but also the belts and the entire engine bay. Customer states, issues with my steering wheel after hitting a pothole. This car rolled in because the owner said it had started pulling slightly to one side at highway speeds and wanted the alignment checked. The mechanic pulled the first wheel, found a tire with absolutely nothing left to offer, and then rocked the wheel and found the suspension had pretty much the same attitude. And the owner of this fairly new GMC Yukon XL rolled in on a tow truck after the customer had heard a loud pop, zing, and bing sound before the engine stalled. This car came in on a tow truck and the customer said, "My son borrowed the car to go fishing with his friends, but I had to go pick them up because they had gone off-road racing instead." This customer had done his own brakes and wanted the mechanic to make sure everything looked alright. And this Ford 350 came in with some differential issues. Once the mechanic removed the differential cover, he discovered this. And this customer's Honda CR-V apparently threw a rod out the engine block. The owner of this car was pretty sure the car was fine and just needed a standard service. The mechanic put it on the lift and found the entire undercarriage coated in engine oil, like it had been sweating it out for quite a while. This truck rolled in on a tow truck because it had major starting issues, some rod knock and whining sounds from the transmission. The mechanics found all this engine oil in the transmission, and it turned out that the customer had an oil leak from the oil filter, and because of that they'd been topping up the engine oil, but had accidentally used the transmission dipstick tube to do it. The owner of this car had their cat stolen a few months ago, so they decided to replace it with a fence post. Because why not? Customer states, "I just need an oil change. Don't try to sell me something else." And this differential has definitely seen some better days. And this Dodge Journey came in because the owner complained about it being too bumpy when driving. This car came in with some electrical issues, and when the mechanic went to pull the battery cover, the positive cable just came with it, as it had snapped clean off the post. The owner of this car brought it in for an oil change and had apparently gotten a flat as they were driving to the shop from their house. This customer came in complaining about always having to top up the washer fluid after they had installed some fender flares that they apparently bought off Temu. And this truck came in right on time because they had some issues with the rear tire.
There it goes. Told you.
And you just gotta love these new inspection windows on the 22 Ford F-150s. Just stick your finger in there, check it out, quick and easy. The owner of this car rolled in complaining about a clunking sound when going over bumps, but said that his buddy had fixed his shocks just last summer. The owner of this minivan rolled in saying that it had started to sound like a Harley-Davidson motorcycle overnight. The mechanics found the exhaust to be a bit leaky. This old Plymouth Fury had just been in at a different shop for some brake work, but had to come in because of a brake fluid leak.